It's May of 2017, and you're bored. You pick up your iPad and get on Roblox when an intriguing game catches your eye. You click it, and suddenly, you find yourself welcomed to Royale High! Hi, I'm Hot Anime Boy, Royale High's NPC and stand-in for a certain Clement student. I know this is overwhelming, so let me give you the rundown of Royale High, starting with its origins. Humbly beginning as Fairies and Mermaids Wings High based off the TV show Winx in April of 2017, it quickly grew from a fan-made roleplay game to one of Roblox's greatest games, a worldwide gaming platform where anyone could either play or make a Roblox game. Players of Fairies and Mermaids Wings High were able to attend Enchantix High, where they could customize themselves, or their character, by spending diamonds, the game's currency, on various items in the game's shop. Through this, players could make original characters, or OCs, in the various areas, or realms the game had to offer. In fact, during these early months, I was the NPC, non-playable character, that gave new players the rundown of the game, just like you. There were many components that reeled in players. For one, the developers caved into celebrating holidays, running through seasonal and permanent updates with a deluge of new wings, skirts, mermaid tails, heels, and accessories to customize your character with, along with interactable items for roleplay like books, spells, NPCs, and minigames, all in aesthetic and exploration-friendly realms. Not to mention the game's new, catchier title, Royale High, that trendy YouTubers quickly slam-dunked into their thumbnails. With all this activity, the in-game chat box was never empty. There was always something going on, and the possibility of finding toxicity was rare. So now, look at Royale High today. Silent as a mouse. Tons of hate towards role players. And most of all, the toxicity. So how did Royale High turn from such a sweet, welcoming game to this? Well, I'm glad you asked me. From all my years of being involved in this franchise, I can tell you this. Royale High is doomed without its role players. In recent years, Royale High's player base has become unfriendlier by the second towards role players, creating a toxic space online by promoting and welcoming bullying, ostracism, and discrimination. I believe that the revival of roleplay in Royale High is crucial to not only bring back the game's original purpose, but to create a larger, more diverse community, create a non-toxic place online, and promote empathy and respect for others in the real world. The gradual death of roleplay began with the trading update. Rumored in 2019, players waited an entire year until the trading feature's arrival in Realm, known as the Trading Hub, released in March 23rd of 2020. Before, players could only get the item they wanted by buying what they wanted from the shop with the currency of diamonds, or, if the item was seasonal, wait until the season came back and the item went on sale. This wait-and-buy technique kept players hooked as they sat patiently for the next season. However, the release of trading let players easily exchange diamonds, wings, skirts, heels, or accessories with other players. Its late arrival in 2020 boosted Royale High player numbers, since everyone was shut in. Some changes in Royale High specifically contributed to the disappearance of roleplays. For one, the removal of Royale High's first and oldest realm, Enchantix High, due to copyright issues, caused many players who grew up in this realm to lose motivation to continue playing. Why stay in a game that doesn't have the place that means most to you? Secondly, the release of trading caused older players' motivation to be poured into trading, which decreased newer players' interest to roleplay. A YouTuber and older player of Royale High known as LL Comics mentions this.
Of course, the new players are going to be looking at what the older, higher-level players are doing.
Newer players followed along the crowd of older players trading, unaware of the impact roleplay had on Royale High's development, and therefore viewing roleplay as a strange, foreign, or unnecessary activity compared to item collecting. And people tend to bully things they can't understand the value of. As the years went on, different problems arose that contributed to the game's overall toxicity. One of these things being overpriced traded items, especially seasonal ones, and unless a player wanted to wait another 3 months for it to come back on sale, they'd have to gather up as many diamonds as they could, or farm, and trade them in exchange, resulting in a shallower player number and outside disinterest to join Royale High's expensive community. Another popular Royal High YouTuber, Vampstel, expressed her concern about this, stating that,
I really wasn't expecting to see people that are willing to pay hundreds of thousands of diamonds just for a pacifier.
Even my interviewee admitted this, saying that it
became really tedious to buy the things I wanted in-game, and it just took a lot of my free time.
In the trading hub, players were also being scammed by being told their items were worth one thing, only to realize later it was worth much, much more, resulting in players quitting from regret and loss. While the interest in fashion brought people in, it stood upon of harsh judgment. Back in the late 2010s, there was more understanding for people with shabby avatars because of the lack of utilities, but compared to the recent 2020s, that empathy has gone down the drain, and if your avatar isn't looking a certain way, well, there was a good chance you'd get attacked. In recent years, I've seen several perspectives on my and others' roleplaying, usually boiling down to leave because you don't belong or stop entirely. I disagree with both, because both involve me hiding a part of who I am. No one should have the power to force anyone to mold into something they don't want to be, or hide a part of themselves, or harass someone and blame them just for existing, regardless of the social media platform or place in life. Before explaining the solutions to this issue, I'd like to bring up some other points I've heard. One of them being that while trading came the toxicity of Royale High, which I disagree with. Trading coming out surely came with cons, but that didn't make it a bad update. What was bad was the roleplay dismissing judgmental culture that was made from a lack of empathy, not from the introduction of trading. Secondly, I've also heard that Royale High turned from a roleplay game to a fashion game, which I disagree with. An interview I held with another player of Royale High, my best friend, expressed how she
I didn't really care about roleplay, so I mostly just focused on the fashion and dressing up aspect of dressing up the character.
So, despite not being introduced to trading, how is her interest in fashion so strong? Because the interest in fashion was always a valid reason to play Royale High, but was especially increased with the release of trading in the pandemic. To sum it up, the necessary revival of roleplay is a tough issue to bring to light because of people's personal opinions on its importance and the lack of empathy and support from a community. So, what's going on right now? I'm so glad you asked. Basically, in August of 2023, a new realm was added, Campus 3, along with Enchantix's removal. What does this have to do with roleplay? Well, ever since last year, Royale High hasn't been updating, and the player count is, decreasing. This anticipation led many to hope for the return of older players and their role-playing passion, but even with the new realm, there wasn't much change. As popular Royale High YouTuber Gaming with Gracie puts it,
Not much gameplay, which is basically the most important part of the game.
so how the heck do we bring back roleplay with a decreasing player count, a bored player base, and a trading community that drives people away within a 5-mile radius? The return of roleplay. Let me, give my 2 cents on how to revive roleplay from its grave. When it comes to players of Royale High, the thing to consider most is the general lack of respect towards roleplayers, or cringy players. This disconnect will continue to divide us until the community destroys itself. So if anything's to be done, it's to A. Recognize the harm that comes from bullying online because it will only halt progress in a good time, and to B. Be respectful and empathetic of different players that you meet, regardless of what group they're in. For the people who don't play Royale High, I hope you see the division going on in Royale High's community, and see how destructive bullying, discrimination, and ostracism can be. If it's happening online, it happens in the real world, and it's a lot deeper than I don't like someone. It's a lack of human respect and empathy that drives people to torment other people. And don't hit me with a, duh, I know this, okay, just let me have my TED Talk on it. Because if there's any way for us to go about meeting new people, it's to be empathetic with them. Put people's humanity and emotions into perspective before interacting with them. And finally, for the people who are in some sort of group, like a club or a sports team or something like that, critique a newcomer's ideas for the community you both share empathetically and respectfully. You won't be doing you or a newbie good by being like, hey, what the heck's this idea you told me? That's stupid. Rather than being brash and rude, understand that both of you are able to want the best and have differing points of view for your shared community. You might as well approach your differences with curiosity and understanding, so your community can feel more confident about its solidity in itself. I think that's pretty much my whole point. XOXO, Gossip Girl.